Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ice Cold Takes podcast. I'm your host, Joey DeMeglio, and the Eastern Conference Finals are underway with the Rangers dropping Game 1 to the Panthers 3-0 on Wednesday night at Madison Square Garden. Game 2 is on Friday, so I'll come back with a recap of that game either on Friday or Saturday. But joining me today to talk about Game 1 is Jeffrey Krentzman from the Mind Your Pucking Business podcast. Thanks so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm good, Joey. Thanks for having me. I'm a big fan of your podcast. I listen to it, so I'm happy to be here with you. I'm excited.
Yeah, your show is great, man. I love like the way you run your Instagram is great. Like the layout of your clips. You have great guests that come on. So from one podcast to another, you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Also, really, I love the name to mind your fucking business. I love it. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. G
But
rate. We keep it G rated around here.
yeah, I love it. But getting right into it with game one, how do you think like the Rangers played overall in this game? Was it fair? Was it a fairly played game for both sides? Do you think the Rangers could have played better? Was it a lack of effort? How do you think the Rangers played uh on Wednesday?
Yeah. I they didn't play well. I felt like they were hesitant. They almost looked like they were nervous. There were a lot of opportunities where they passed up shots to make an extra pass, like third period. I can think of Gustafson. Could have walked in on a breakaway pretty much and gave the puck up, went across the zone. They didn't play well. I don't know that left the game thinking that Florida was great. I wasn't really overly impressed with Florida, and I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but I feel like the Rangers just didn't play well. I thought they were better than they were in Game 5 at home versus Carolina, where they just flat out didn't show up.
Yeah.
But I think they were missing kind of some pop last night. They had trouble clearly, and the shot total is indicative of this. Kind of breaking the forecheck and getting some offensive opportunities, which is definitely going to be something to watch going forward.
I thought it was a winnable game for sure. Definitely not the Rangers' best performance. They could come back with a better effort in game two. I'm sure Laviolette is already talking to the players about doing that. Kreider was talking a little bit about it in the post game. But little things just made the difference in this game. Shesterkin missed the first goal. That was he could have stopped that one. But I mean Panarin turned the puck over in a bad spot in the offensive zone, leading to that chance. And then Shesterkin again he messed up on that second one, leading to Lafreniere tipping it in. Like I don't think Shesterkin should have played that puck and put it in the spot that he was in. It was a very winnable game. Like the Rangers were in it like the entire way, but I think the only point in the game where it was like, wow, the Rangers really, really are outplaying the Panthers was after they killed off that Lafreniere penalty in the third period when Trouba laid that hit on Stenlund, and they got that those big chances. Wenberg had a shot that Bobrovsky robbed him on, and then Lafreniere hit the post. I think the Rangers need to get back to that and play more like that in game two.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was that area in the third period. I mean, they were close to tying it. You got to look at Schneider hitting the post on a breakaway. That goes in. It's a different game. I mean, they definitely the Mika one timer is as time expired in the second period on the power play. Another opportunity they could have scored. It definitely was a winnable game. I mean, again, I'm not taking anything away from Florida, but I'm not walking away from the game thinking, "Wow, Florida's unbelievable. This is going to be a real struggle here because of the strength of the opponent." I'm not thinking that.
Mhm. Yeah, I could see that. It also looked like Florida was pretty comfortable with only a 1 goal lead in a 1-0 game. I That was the last thing I would expect in a game 1. I figured it would be like a 2-1 game or a 3-2 game, but not a 1-0 game. Bobrovsky was pretty good. He wasn't tested a whole lot, like you said. The Rangers struggled to get shots through. I think one thing that stood out to me was the way Florida trapped it up in the third period. They really made it difficult for the Rangers to make zone entries cleanly. There's a lot of botched passes, turnovers were a big deal last night. Um, I think the Rangers need to play a bit more physically. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. So well, two things to what you just said on Bobrovsky. I think even when they tested him, it wasn't high quality shots, but they didn't force him to make big saves. The best quality shots they had, the post made the save for him. So he wasn't really tested into doing something great. Um, Physicality is important. I would almost say it's important here because it provides a jump, right? You had a team last night that really didn't show up 100%. And I think if you insert a physical component to the game or you put an emphasis on it, that's something that can get the team going. But also the crowd. Like the crowd to me last night watching the game was really quiet. And for an Eastern Conference Finals game, at the world's most famous arena, that's not acceptable, right? So you get the crowd going, like you talked about the Truba hit, that's where you're going to get that kind of home ice advantage. So the physicality could be super important for sure.
Mhm. Do you think they should put Rempe back in for game 2?
You know what? I have not been a huge Matt Rempe fan. Or I shouldn't say that. I haven't been as big of a fan of him as other people are, where they're giving him the keys of the city. But I think you could make an argument here that he should be. I mean, I think you could certainly say to yourself, hey, the team needs a spark. We need to get the crowd into it. We need to play physical versus this team. And Matt Rempe is probably the best answer to do that. So I think the answer probably is yes, but then the other thing that you have to ask with that question is whose spot in the lineup is he taking, right? I mean, that's the other piece of it. And I don't know if you're going to pull Filipino after one game. I don't know that you want to look at Roslovic. I saw that mentioned. I saw Kako mentioned. I mean, you'd have to. He has to go in for someone. So that's the other piece of that.
Mhm. I even saw some people saying Veezy should get taken out because he had a couple turnovers last night, shied away from a few body checks, but he's been so good for the Rangers this year, so I think you're right. It's gonna be a tough decision for Laviolette. If he wants to put Rempe back in there, who's gonna come out? Because, I mean, up until this point, everyone has just been playing really, really well, so why change anything? But, I mean, the Rangers are down 1-0 in the series, so and you still have one home game before you go to Florida, which may or may not turn out to be another home game, minus the putting your players out there second, having the line, matchup advantage there. Um, but, did you think that the Rangers lacked urgency last night compared to, like, other games in the playoffs, maybe against the Carolina series? I thought I was a bit surprised that they didn't come out as hard in the 3rd period and, really push for that tying goal until later in that period, like around the 7-minute mark left in that period when Trouba laid that hit.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, I think there definitely was a lack of urgency. You try to set the tone. You're the home team in game one, right? You're in New York too, a loud building. You should, in the first 10 minutes, be generating opportunities just based on that, right? Maybe you don't score on it, but at least it gives you some momentum going forward in the next 50 minutes in the game. And they didn't do that. And some of the urgency, again, I mean, passing up shots, passing up opportunities, they've got to get the puck to the net. And the other thing is not only is it getting into the net and shooting, it's getting through the defense, right? There was a lot of blocked shots last night. So that's another thing that they've got to clean up on.
Yeah, I agree, and you brought up the first one you mentioned, the first example was the Gustafson one where he passed it over to Kako, and that one actually ended up being a lot closer to a goal than I thought it was. I thought Bobrovsky read it all the way, which he did, but it almost, snuck through. I agree with you, though. I woulda liked Gustafson to take that shot there. I mean, it was no just him versus the goalie, clear lane, take a shot, pick a corner, and try and get that goal. Um, I
Yeah.
think yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
the other thing I was going to say with that, to your point, in the first period, Lafreniere. Now, Lafreniere, if I say he had a bad game, you're going to think I'm going to talk about the puck that went in the wrong net, and I'm not. He had a lot of pucks on his stick in the first period and didn't make plays. I mean, let's face it. Like there was a play, they were cycling it deep, and he just lost control of the puck and it came out of the zone. I mean, he had a really, really shaky game. That whole line did actually. It wasn't just him. Panarin and Trocheck. You think about like even in games where they're not producing points, they're generating offense, they're generating high quality chances. They didn't do any of that last night.
I looked online, they did generate a good amount of shots, but I think they could be better. I think that
Quality,
the
right? The high
quality
quality wasn't there.
yes,
Yep.
the quality wasn't there. The game itself was actually pretty boring because there was a lot of whistles, a lot of stoppages. That kinda game is very difficult to watch if you're a fan. And I don't think the Rangers seem to play too well against that style. So I think the Rangers got to add in a little more tempo, be a little more physical, because all their lines, the Panthers forwards, they were really making it difficult on the Rangers defenseman to clear the puck out. I saw in the second period, like Lomberg got like after Rangers had like a pretty good offensive zone shift, he got right in there on the forecheck, made it uncomfortable for Fox, and then like all chaos ensued after that. The Panthers got in a bunch of chances. I think it led to that Barkov backhander. I think Shesterkin gloved it. It was in front of the net. He got a piece of it with his glove, I mean, but I just think the Rangers have to make it a little bit more difficult for their defensemen now, the same way they are making it difficult for the Rangers to exit their zone.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you on that.
Yeah. I also think, like, in terms of expectation, I think the Panthers played the way, like, I expected. Maybe I was expecting a little bit more offensively, but defensively, the shutdown period that they had in the third, it was aside from a few good chances, there wasn't much space out there. Did you feel the same way? Like, did they meet your expectations or exceed it?
No, I would agree. They did not generate a lot at all. Chances, and that has to be the number. I would think the number one thing the coaching staff is looking at today to get ready for Game 2 tomorrow is, we can't play a game. We have too much offensive firepower to play a game where we're not generating the amount of chances that we should, and we're not generating any high quality chances.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I certainly would have an emphasis on that area.
Mhm. I don't feel like the sky is falling just yet. I know some people on Twitter. I don't know about Instagram because you're on there. I'm always on Twitter, so I see it. I saw a few people, like thinking like, "Oh my gosh, the sky is falling. Like we're gonna lose this series." But it was the game was right there. Like, how is it on Instagram? Do you notice a difference?
You know what? I think actually for the most part, people are not that. I didn't see a lot of panic, but I will say this: I did see it. But someone had a really good point today, and it was this basically. Look, out of all the predictions we've seen, no one has seen any prediction, which was Rangers in four. So you knew, right? You were going to give up a game. It wasn't like Florida was never going to win. If you even predicted the Rangers to win, then chances are it's in five, six, or seven. Somewhere along the way, Florida was going to win a game. So if that's going to be the case, why would you panic? I mean, I would say tomorrow night. I wouldn't say it's a must win, but I would say it's pretty darn close.
I agree. I agree with that. You don't want to go down 2-0 to Florida, but the in that case, game 3 is the must win if you do
Absolutely.
go on,
Right.
the 2-0.
Right.
Yeah, because you don't wanna be put in that spot. It's like it's ridiculously difficult to come back from a 3-0 series unless you're the LA Kings and you just
You're
decide
right.
not to lose a game
Well,
ever again.
and also if you think about it, if you can win tomorrow night, you go down to South Florida with a split. You look at last series, Florida lost 2 games at home versus Boston, right? So there was not a massive home ice advantage there. As we said on Mind Your Pucking Business this week, there's no area in the country out of this area here that has as many Ranger fans as South Florida because people move to Florida. And the tickets are not overly expensive like they are at the Garden. So that building is going to be packed with Ranger fans. So
Mm.
there's definitely an opportunity. If you could win tomorrow night, you're fine.
Yeah, I think that's good. It's good because you carry the momentum too. Like, if you win game 2, you're going into Florida game 3 off of a win rather than,
Mhm. Just win
if you're
tomorrow
down
night.
yeah,
Yep, I
just win
agree.
tomorrow. Like, almost similarly to how I felt in game 5 of the Carolina series where things just get a lot easier if you just win that game 5 and wrap up the series right there. Like,
So
okay,
we posted a poll this morning. Is it time to panic on our Instagram story?
okay,
Just to give you the updated stuff, we have 530 votes so far. 20% say yes, it's time to panic, and 80% say no. So
okay, good.
that should give you a feel.
I like that. Feel like Instagram is much more mellow and like
Good.
laid back. Like let's take it easy here. Let's not panic. Like there's some things that we didn't like in game 1, but because it's only the first game, the Rangers have time to adjust here. I like that. I like that mentality from people. We're gonna get into our ice cold take segment. So if you're listening at home, remember that the ice cold take is an accurate statement backed by facts and observations that is solid in nature, similar to a block of ice, i.e., a spot on claim. So I'll give my ice cold take first. I'm expecting this to be a close series, but if the Rangers cannot find a way to beat the Panthers' trap like they played in the third period and be more physical, it's going to be a short series. I think Florida could win it in 5. So I think the Rangers really need to push back here starting in game 2. Um, that's just my prediction for this going forward. I did say that the Rangers would win in 7 games. That was my prediction. But if they can't poke through and squeak through and find a way to beat the trap, it's gonna be short. How do you feel, Jeff?
My prediction was Rangers in 7 also. So if that is what if that's what I'm gonna say, I think, then I'm gonna give Florida 3 wins. So they already got 1. I mean, I don't know that that's really earth shattering. But yes, if they cannot find a way to gain the zone better and get quality chances, this would be then a danger situation of being a shortened series. I would
Mm,
agree.
mhm,
Even if they don't, you'd like to think that if there's a game somewhere in here, like last night, right, where Schneider's shot doesn't hit the post, they score 1 or 2 goals, and Igor stands on his head, and they find a way to win a game without getting a lot of offense. But you can't do that for 4 wins. Like that's not a 4-win thing.
absolutely not. Yeah, it's not like and you can't rely too much on the goaltender too. That's the thing. You wanna fall out of that habit. Like, game 6 against Carolina, if it weren't for Shesterkin, the Rangers don't win that game. Like, you rely on the goalie to keep you in it, and then you bail yourself out. Kreider gets the hat trick. You gotta start playing well from opening puck drop. Right as soon as the puck drops, go out there and take the game. Go out and win the game, win the period, win go 20 minutes at a time, whatever, take it each shift. Whatever, cliches that the hockey players like to use. But was that your ice cold take though, your official ice cold take for this episode?
That they'll still win it in 7.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think they need to win tomorrow night, and kind of like you just said, Joey, they need to have some urgency because they need to come out tomorrow mad, right, and hungry.
Mhm.
And if they don't, and you fall behind 2-0, it doesn't mean you're out of the series, but you've got a mountain to climb out of.
Who are you looking to kinda spark that, surge, like, right out off the beginning?
Well, I can think of 2 people. One would be Zibanejad for sure. I mean, he has really disappeared here. It kind of got masked in the Carolina series because Kreider did what he did, and they won the series. So you'd like to see him get going. And then the line, look, it's been their best line all year. Lafreniere, Trocheck, and Panarin. They've got to produce. They have to, because if you're going to rely on third line production to win you a game, it's not going to come from Wenberg, right? It's not going to come from VC, as you mentioned. These big guys have to produce.
Mhm. I think Panarin I would look to Panarin because there's always this, like, revolving, it seems like, narrative that he can't get it done in the playoffs, and, I mean, he has four goals, all of them game winners. I'm looking to him to get another big goal here. The Rangers could really, really use it, and to start game 1, that would be huge. And it's gotta be, like, the first goal of the game. It can't be, like, the Rangers' first goal. I think the Rangers have to come out and get, like, the first 1 or 2 goals, to really make you feel alive in this series, because right now, I mean, recency bias, the Rangers just dropped the first game, so, I mean, some people are gonna feel like the season is over, but as you mentioned with your poll, there's a lot of people that aren't panicking, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing to note leading into game 2. So that's going to conclude this segment of Ice Cold Takes. We'll see you guys back for game 2. I'll recap that on Friday or Saturday. Jeff, thanks so much for coming on the show. I appreciate you taking the time out. I know you said you were busy today, but again, I appreciate you for taking the time to come on the show. Keep doing what you're doing on Instagram. Your show is great, and I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Joey. Great work as well. Always great to be here. I'll come back anytime. See you soon.